So here we have the first one came in. Okay, this is from Scrub Lord. Unless you tell me, I can say your real name. I'm not going to, so I'll just say your IGN, as it says in here. And here's the question. In important matches, I get very cold hands, causing them to start shaking and making it hard to control my mouse, and sometimes even causing me to freeze in team fights. I started playing top lane now, and when it happens, I try to control it. And with champions like Nara, Darius, the team fighting is not as hard, so it works fine. But as soon as I got to make a decision, like who to attack, I freeze. This happens in like 10% of ranked or team games and 1% of normal games, but still I have a feeling it sometimes causes me to lose a crucial fight. So cold hands, shaking, uncontrollableness. Okay, so yeah, this is very much a mental thing, but it's also physical. Let me explain what's happening. There's a lot of people that treat the mind and the body as separate. And of course, most of those people are not elite athletes. So everybody who is at a high level of performance is aware of how interconnected this single organism is, the human organism. And effectively what happens when you enter like a competitive or stressful situation is your body thinks you're about to get attacked by a saber-toothed tiger. Unfortunately, we still have this programming in us. So like you get mentally stressed, like, oh, I'm about to be ganked. And your body goes, oh, you're about to be bit by a large cat. It's kind of ridiculous. But if you look at the physiological symptoms of what happens, they're identical. Your medulla amygdala like starts going crazy. You start producing adrenaline. Your body actually withdraws blood from your extremities into the core because it thinks that you're going to get injured, like somewhere on your hands or your arms or something, as you're like fending yourself off from this thing, or you're running. And so it wants to prevent blood loss. So it draws like something like more than 20% of your blood into your core. That's what adrenaline causes you to do. It reroutes it all to the most important organs. So your hands get cold. Isn't that crazy? So how do you counter this? Well, we used to counter it by running away, like freaking running away. And within 3 minutes of high intense activity, like almost 60% of your blood flow returns to your external extremities. Unfortunately, in a game, you can't really do that. But you can, for example, counteract that by kicking in the adrenaline before the match, like during the loading screen, for example. You can get off the internet, get off everything that's distracting you. You can have a loading screen up there, and you can like get up out of your chair, and you can just like start doing jumping jacks while you're thinking about the game or focusing on that. You can get your adrenaline pumping before it has a chance to come in from your mind. Like you start it from here, like start the engine from the key, before somebody like opens the hood and starts to like short circuit your battery straight from your brain. So that's one strategy, pre-performance preparation. Then the second thing is when you're in game, what do you do about handling it like in the match? So this is actually something that takes a lot of training. So I don't want to like say I have a quick solution for you. In fact, none of these are quick solutions. They all take the same amount of training that skills do. But essentially, there's this training I do called mindfulness, acceptance, commitment. And it goes like this. You have an internal state. And the internal state has usually very little impact on your play. In this case, it does, like your hands start shaking. But a lot of times this is a biofeedback loop. Like first you start to get nervous. Then you think about you getting nervous. Then you get more nervous. Then the adrenaline kicks in. Then you get worried about that. And then it eventually turns out into like actual physical shaking. So you have to cut the feedback loop. And in order to do that, you have to learn how not to focus on the internal state of your body, but instead focus on the task. Now, this is something that people like, I've referenced Michael Jordan a lot, but he actually said this, so I'll use him again. He didn't know how to play in the zone. This is what was confusing for a lot of people. Like they asked him, why are you always so in the zone? Like, how is it that you always show up for every game? He says, I don't. I'm not always in the zone. In fact, I'm rarely in the zone. I have bad days. I have good days. I have crappy days. I have the worst days of my life. And then I have the best days of my life. And on every single one of those days, I show up and I play. It doesn't matter what's going on inside of me. I'm playing basketball. And so essentially what he's doing is he's focusing 100% of his mental energy on the task, not on the self. So say it with me. Focus on the task, not on the self. Focus on the moment, not on the past. Focus on the present, not on the past or the future. And do so non-judgmentally. And if you can achieve those three things, you'll cut the biofeedback loop, and you'll still be anxious and have anxiety inside, but like won't make your muscles shake anymore. You'll still have cold hands until you can like get it running. Maybe after the match, but like you got to stop focusing on the body and start focusing on the task. One other tip I have for you, this comes from the fact that I live in the Arctic Circle. Cover your legs up with a blanket. So like yesterday, I was at a party for my work, and I was wearing a 1970s outfit because this was the theme of the event, whatever. So I had on basically a t-shirt and shorts, and it was freezing because it's like negative whatever outside. So I went and got my sweater. Now, most people, when they get a sweater, they'll put it on. They'll be like, oh, I got to warm up my hands, my arms. What you don't realize is that this part of your body, this is where your body sends all the heat when you get a cold. It takes it out of here, sends it to here, but it has to keep circulating all to your feet. If you cover up your legs instead of your upper body, you'll notice the difference immediately. So if you're playing at night and you want to do a bunch of training and you're worried about your ranked games and getting cold and the stress shaking thing, put on 2 pairs of socks, put on one, make sure you have on pants, and then put a blanket on over top of that, wrap it up. If your legs are warm, you won't lose all that heat out of there. Okay. Next question. Thanks you guys for rolling with me on the Q&A thing. It's a bit unfortunate because now people can't click on the question and come back to it, but it's better than nothing. Okay, so next question from Toli. I used to play for my county in football, soccer. And one thing one of the coaches used to say and enforce was that you couldn't concentrate for more than 45 minutes at a time with a 15-minute break afterwards. Is this true? And can you apply this to League of Legends? No, it's not true. You can focus as much as you have trained your mind to focus. So some people can only focus for like 3 minutes. Some people can focus for 10. Some people can focus for 20. Like a lot of people say, 20 minutes is a good amount of time to work, and then you stand up and you like relax and you do another 20 minutes. It really helps. Sports trains you to be able to focus longer. You'll notice this as you start playing higher and higher degrees of esport or traditional sport. And there's a reason that the LCS teams, like if you looked at the North American LCS, Counter Logic Gaming almost got relegated out of the professional league. And they had a best-of-5 match against, I don't remember who their opponents were, but they lost the first 2 games. They were down 0-2. Okay, then they stomped the next 3. As a sports psychologist, I kind of already knew that was going to happen. I mean, I said that this is a best-of-5. CLG is going to win based on their ability to focus, because they were playing competitive matches for almost 2 years. Their ability to focus was much extended. And so the other team, when I was watching their play in the 3rd game, they started making mistakes. And it wasn't because the pressure got to them. It's because they ran out of gas. They ran out of hit points. Like they had never trained in a way to mimic professional play that allowed their brains to learn this ability. And so they just got rolled over. You can do this. You can train focus. There's all sorts of ways to train focus in the game and outside the game. And most of it is just focus as long as you can on everything that you do. And then give yourself breaks when you're just exhausted. So yeah, your soccer coach is right in that you want to give yourself breaks and you want to be on and then off and then on and off. And when you're really on, boy, I want you focusing so hard By the way, that boy was like an idiom. I wasn't calling you a boy. I don't know if you're a boy or not. But anyway, when you focus, you got to be training that. And then when you're off, you got to know that you're like on vacation. You're like, okay, I'm just relaxing right now. I'm not making decisions. So that then when you turn around and you do it, you're 100% into that. And that's how you train that skill, get it to happen longer. Here's a quick drill you can do to find out what your focus ability is at right now. So you close your eyes and you start doing something like, okay, maybe closing your eyes isn't a good idea because I'm going to ask you to walk. So you like go on a walk, something, or you cook something that's automatic. You're an elite at. Elite basically means an automated skill. So walking, most people are elite walkers in that they can do it without thinking about it. Same with cooking. If you're not an elite cooker, like you can't cook something without thinking about it, don't try this drill at home. Use somebody else's house. Okay, so you're walking and you just, in your head, slowly, silently, you start counting upwards. 1, 2, 3, and you focus on that and you see how high you can count. So usually what happens, you get somewhere around 60. And for me, the first time I did this, for example, I was like 62, and then I was like, oh, I forgot what number I'm at. It was 60 something. So I just started again, 64. Happened again around the mid 70s. I like got distracted by something. And then it happened again, and I quit around 80 something. So that's just a quick ballpark. You can see like how good you are at focusing on something that you don't care at all about for an extended period of time. So about 80 seconds, right? You're never going to be able to do that for minutes and hours unless you're some sort of like Southeast Asian Zen master or whatever. But that doesn't matter because who's motivated to learn how to focus on counting? You want to be motivated to focus on your game. But anyway, that's the point, is that that's what 100% focus feels like, and you can watch yourself fall out of focus as you're doing that drill and recognize what's happening. By the way, I have some big news. I don't know if you guys follow me on the website. You should. But I just got picked up by another pro team, so I'll be coaching also this season, or at least for the next few months, on a team in Europe, or for a team in Europe. And so I think they're going to do really well this year because they have me. We'll see how it goes. I'm not going to tell you who it is yet because I'm not sure that they want to make that public or whatever, but it's very exciting for the brand. Okay, Anita asks, oh, sorry, Pariga. I said I wasn't going to do that, but then like this is somebody who's been corresponding with me, and so I just, without thinking, I said her real name. My bad. Okay, my problem is that mostly what I do when I do bad in game, I go on tilt and rage at myself and play even worse. That is probably destructive self-talk, but in those games it's so prevalent that all other thoughts just don't get through the rage. What I do then is just stop playing, but when it happens the first game of the day, it's really a waste. So what can I do to decrease this rage except stop playing for a while? The first step is sorting out the controllables and the uncontrollables. So the activity I had where you write down stuff. A lot of our being pissed comes from uncontrollable factors, like it's a good example. Dying to a jungle gank, losing in a 2v2 skirmish to another teammate. A lot of things that are related to the opponent, right? So most of the uncontrollables are related to like how good or how bad your opponent is. Random elements of the game, such as when the junglers show up to kill you. You need to sort out the things that you want to learn on that champion in a match and forget about the outcomes. Tilt is something that you have to train by experiencing it. Like, this is the best advice I can give you. Yes, if I had a 1-hour session with you every week, we could do mental training drills to work on tilt, but we don't have that. So you have to train tilt yourself by experiencing it and then mastering it. So you should look at tilting as a great opportunity, and raging as a superb opportunity to practice, because this is the time. Like, how do you practice League of Legends? You play League of Legends. How do you practice StarCraft 2? You play StarCraft 2. How do you practice tilting or raging? You get into that moment when you're raging or tilting, and you learn what works. You be a scientist on yourself. So what I recommend for raging is this the problem window. Did I draw a window there? Can you guys see it? Okay. So there's a lot of things in life that aren't really problems until we decide they are. Let me give you an example. There's two boys playing catch outside in the field, okay? And you're looking out the window of your house, and you're like, two little kids playing catch. Okay, that's not my problem. That's whatever. And then one of the kids gets hit with the ball, and you're like, oh, that sucks, but that's his problem. They were playing catch there, whatever. And then he leaves, and the other kid starts playing catch up in the air. And you're like, whatever, okay, so he's playing catch with himself. And then he starts playing catch by bouncing the ball off of your house near the window, and back to him. So now you're thinking okay, now it's my problem because it's going to bash out my window, right? His behavior really never changed. I mean, he was always just kind of playing catch with the things that were around him. What changed was your relationship to the problem, not the behavior. So all too often in games, you focus on a behavior in yourself or a behavior in your opponent or your team that makes you mad. And it's not really that behavior that's the problem, because people do that all the time. Maybe you do this all the time. What causes the rage and the anger is the result, the effect that it has on you. So sometimes you screw up a CS and you're like, whatever. Sometimes you screw up a CS and it's a cannon minion. You're like, oh God, I suck. It's the same thing. You screwed up a CS. It's just one of them was critical. So you started bashing yourself. So you have to start recognizing that you're focusing too much on behaviors that are uncontrollable instead of having a problem and solving it. So okay, the problem is not that you missed a cannon minion. The problem is that you need to get better at CSing under pressure or during trades and stuff like that, which is something you can control because you can practice it. And you don't have to live with the results of a training match. You can focus on your training and be incremental in that. So think about the problem window. When you see something that's pissing you off, something in yourself that's causing you to rage, think about try to imagine what it would be if the behavior disappeared. So if you weren't pissed at a behavior, if there was just a problem, okay, you died twice. You went to lane and level 1 trade, you died. You're like, oh my God, I suck so bad. Then you go back and you're like, okay, I'm gonna focus. I'm gonna recapture this lane. I'm not gonna, and then boom, the jungler comes out of nowhere and kills you level 1 again. And you're so pissed at yourself, and you're so pissed at everything, and your team starts raging at you. Okay, so what do you do in this situation? You focus on the problem and not the behaviors. Behavior is is in the past. You can't do anything about your actions that happened. What you can do is look at the problem. The problem is that you have a losing lane, and you have a pissed off team. And what is it that you can effectively get out of this situation? What kind of training can you get out of this? Okay, I'm going to practice my CS. This is a great time because the creeps have been leveling up and you're behind in levels and you're behind in items. So you can spend the rest of the game thinking I'm going to really focus on my CSing and get really good at the last hit, because I'm already handicapped in that thanks to my loss of levels, so I won't worry about other things. I'll focus on that training thing, do something effective and smart with your time. See yourself as an athlete instead of a competitor in a pickup match. This is a pickup match. Let's be serious here. It doesn't matter who wins and loses. It doesn't matter if you lose to somebody who's slightly better than you. What does that matter in the long run? Your goal is higher. Your goal is way beyond this stupid little match. So take what you can out of this and don't worry about the result in your opponent so much. Okay. By the way, if I don't get to your question by 10 o'clock, oh gosh, it's 10 o'clock. If I don't get to your question, I'm going to email you back. a full response. And actually what I'll do is I'll send it to the whole webinar list. I recommend actually that you go to mindgames.gg right now and subscribe, like register to the email list if you can, because I can send, or you can just email me, like weldongreen@gmail.com. Email me your email. I'll add you to the list so I can send everybody the responses, and I'll make sure to anonymize them. But I want everybody to get the feedback from this. And I don't know what your time schedule is like. I want to respect your time. It's been an hour. I want to say, okay, we're done. If you want to stick around, that's great. But from this point on, I'm going to also email all the answers out from the questions that I asked. So if you got to run, that's totally fine. You won't miss anything. Just make sure you send me your email so I can put you on the list. And thank you all for coming. Let me put that out there again. I'll be doing these more regularly. That's why I want to keep it to an hour, because I'm going to try to do like one of these a week from now on, or at least every couple weeks, so that I can get as much help out there as I can. Okay, currently I'm Diamond 5, and my LP varies from 0 to 78. Whenever I win, I get +9. When I lose, I get 30. Do you have any advice about not getting annoyed or how to cope with this? I do play the piano every time I lose an annoying game. Toxic ignoring people helps me feel relaxed. Okay, so reframing is essentially what you want to do here. So there's several ways that people are motivated according to the research. There's goal orientation, mastery orientation, and competitive orientation. So people who are competitive oriented, they are motivated by besting other people, okay? And mastery oriented are motivated by besting themselves. And elite athletes, like high-level athletes, when you test them on their motivational mindset, they test very highly on both of these skills, actually. But when you look at them in practice, in training, what you see is that 100% of their motivation as they apply it in a game of training is mastery. They're always trying to get better than themselves, better than themselves, better than themselves. They don't care. LeBron James has this problem. LeBron James goes and he plays against people in scrims, and he can dominate them. Like, it's not good training for him. But he keeps getting better. Why? Because his whole orientation in training is that he wants to be better than himself in the previous game. So the ladder is a little confusing, because some people say, well, I'm going to measure my increase by the ladder because that's purely objective, and it's reference to me. I'm going to be better than myself every time as I climb. But that's a false understanding. Actually, the ladder is by nature comparing yourself to others every single day. So you have to divorce the progress of your skills from your progress up the ladder, as hard as that may seem. And the best way to do that is through, again, like, I'm going to start at the basics because I don't know where you're at, but the best way to do that is through workhorse goals. Having measurable goals that you can see changes on over time. Because right now, the only thing you have to measure yourself is the ladder. You need to have other references of measure. And if you set these kinds of goals that you can measure and attain, you can see yourself improving separate from the ladder. So it might be the best thing that you ever did with your time was to take 5 minutes before each match and like set a goal for that match, and like what it is, the skills that you want to train and how to measure them. And you want to kind of carry these over so you can build on them and see yourself improving over time. I know that this might be a little difficult to get off the ground at the start, so I recommend you take my free goal setting class. And I'm actually going to start an Instagram account where I post like a League of Legends goal every day that fulfills all the requirements of this mastery motivation kind of theory, so that you guys can have a bunch of example goals to base your stuff off of. So look for that in the next few weeks. And get Instagram if you don't have it. You guys can follow me on there, although I'll probably can tweet them too if you really don't want to get Instagram for some reason. Yeah, so just to recap, six of, it's you have to cope with it by realizing that it's a measurement of you against other people, and it doesn't really matter because your goal is independent of that. That you need to be in training focused on beating yourself, so that when you finally get there, you can beat other people. Just to show you like how pointless this competitive kind of mastery is in competition. Imagine you're playing against like a team composed entirely of silver 1 players, and you are a diamond 5 right now. So how motivating is that going to be? I mean, it's not. You're going to be like stomping them, and you're just going to be having fun, right? So when you're playing against somebody who's like way better than you, the same thing happens. Like you're like not motivated because they're just stomping you in the face, and you're like, okay, these people are like way better than me. It's frustrating. I just want to have fun now. Like you do whatever you can to cope. Some people get pissed. Some people rage. Some people get annoyed at them. Some people get annoyed at their teams. They get annoyed at their self. You're most motivated by competing with people directly adjacent to you, like in skill level. But that doesn't help you get any better. Like your goal is not to beat those people. I mean, what is your goal? Is your goal to be the best at League of Legends? Then what does it matter if you beat some other people who are also Diamond 1? Like if your goal is to beat Challenger 1, then those are the people you want to be playing against. I see this problem a lot with Challenger teams. They constantly scrim against other Challenger teams, and they never get any better. They never improve the amateur scene's development because they're just scrimming against each other, and that's all they're doing. If you look at like farm teams in most of the other sports, they're training against pro teams when they do training matches and exhibitions. And of course, they do scrim against like other farm teams, but they do so in a way to like always be developing their personal skills. Okay, Brian says, yeah, I consider getting thin gloves. And next time I'll try to do my lower body. Yeah, I really recommend lower body. Like you lose all your heat in your legs. The blood has to go all the way down, circulate, come all the way back up. And by the time it comes back up here, there's nothing left over for your hands. Okay, Grang asks, my current goal for the season was to make it out of bronze into silver, and I managed to achieve that. My goal for the next season is to make it into gold. What will it do to me when I achieve gold and then my interest for ranked stops until the next season? And what if I'm not interested in ranked anymore when the time comes? So you're worried about setting a goal that's like maybe too low and then achieving it and becoming demotivated. So what happens when this occurs is basically that you're confusing a step goal with a dream goal. Okay, you're like thinking that your dream goal is to achieve gold. Like that's the ultimate thing that you want to experience in your life. And I would imagine that's not the case. That your dream goal is something higher than that. Let me put it this way. There's a famous entrepreneur advisor named Seth Godin, and people ask him like, what should be what's a realistic aim for my first year in a new business? Like, should I say like $100,000 in revenue, $200,000 in revenue? He says, what's the point of saying you're going to get $100,000 in revenue and making that your goal? Like, what if you fail that goal? You're going to fall. You're not even going to accomplish anything. I want you to say that you're going to have $1 million in revenue, because when you fail that goal, you're going to fail that higher than the measly 100,000 you set yourself before. So let me give you an example from myself. Like, I don't have a chance to play a lot of League of Legends. I've got 2 kids, a full-time job. I train sports psych on the side, and I've got a house renovation and another company. So it's like, okay, I get to, let's see, I think I played 3 hours this month so far, maybe 2. My goal last season was to hit Challenger. Okay, and I hit Platinum. So I failed it, but I started bronze 1. So I failed it much higher than I would have if I'd just been like, okay, I gotta get gold. I was not even thinking about gold. I don't care about gold. I want challenger. Then I failed it into platinum, and I got into platinum, and I was like pissed, that I didn't make challenger. But then after a month, I was when the season ended, I was like, I reframed myself because I knew that originally my goal had just been to get a little bit better. And I was like, yes, I was really happy with that now, that accomplishment, even though, you forget about the challenger thing once you realize you can't reach that. Goals are tools. So if you set a step goal, like something very near in the future, near as far as accomplishability, near as far as time, that is a step goal. That's not a dream goal. These things are not very motivating in the first place. And when you accomplish them, you look back and you say, okay, I achieved a small step on the way to something bigger, so I'm not even motivated by that at all. Yeah, that's right. That's because it's not your dream goal. Dream goals are motivating. Workhorse goals are motivating. The ones in the middle, these step goals, like I'm going to get silver, then I'm going to get gold, then I'm going to get diamond, those are useful and super great. They teach you the path to go on as you climb. It's nice awareness, but they aren't your motivators. You got to find something else to motivate you. That's just human science, like knowing what I do about motivation. If you look at people who psychologists try to get them to stop smoking, like these little step goals, like cut down from 7 cigarettes to 5 cigarettes, like they aren't very motivating. They're useful in tracking progress, but they're not for motivation. Okay, black counter. I have a full-time job, rent, get stressed out because I have to get up and work at 5 a.m. What do you reckon the best way to get into focus when I get back home to practice? Here's what I recommend. I recommend that you have a pre-performance routine. So either in the morning, if you can pull this off, before your every single day before your work, or every single day before you start training, I want you to do the same exact routine every time. So like, for example, you wake up and you have already made all the decisions for the day. So like for this pre-performance routine, it's always the same. This cuts down on the mental decisions that you need to make to get through your morning routine. Okay, so you wake up, you drink the cup of tea that you always drink or that you decided to do the night before. You eat the thing for breakfast that you had decided to eat the night before, that you'd already prepared, or that you eat every day. And then you meditate for 20 minutes, and then you spend 5 minutes journaling and writing down goals. Like the thing that you want to do today. List one thing that you want to do effectively that day. And journal for 5 minutes about like your thoughts about how the day is going to go and what your plan is for tackling that day. Okay, pre-performance pre-day ritual, like 30 minutes. You'll notice that if you can do one thing effectively every day, you're already ahead of like 99% of the people out there. There's so many people out there that are, like I said, trying to be efficient. They're like, okay, I got to be more efficient. I got to do this and this and this. And they do a whole bunch of useless stuff kind of semi-well. And most of it doesn't matter. And then there's a whole bunch of people who think like, I got to do everything. I got to train because every single opportunity I miss is an opportunity I don't get. Yeah, that's true. Every single time you decide to do something, you're giving up something else. There's not infinite time. That's why you need to plan ahead. You have to have this morning ritual where you wake up and you go through this ritual automatically without using any of your brain power that you want to reserve for your focus later. And then you want to plan out the one thing you want to do that day to be effective. And if you don't get it done that day, maybe you'll get it done maybe 5 times a week. You'll still be ahead of like most of the population. I mean, most of the population does one thing effectively on the weekends for their own life per week. And that's even questionable how effectively they're doing it. So be smart about your planning for your day and try to automate as much as possible so that you can reserve your mental faculties for after. Okay, so then after you get off of work, let's say you just can't manage this morning routine thing, then I want you to switch it to before the game. So when you're going to go and play for fun, you just go and play. When you're going to go and play to train, when you're going to go practice, okay? Because I mean, let's look at pro soccer players. Sometimes they just go play pickup games. Sometimes they're at the training field. So League of Legends, it's hard to differentiate between those two because you're like always playing with the same people when you're training, when you're not training. So decide when you're going to be practicing. Before you do that, take like 25 minutes to just relax, maybe go on a walk. I super recommend physical activity like a walk, something to connect you with nature, something to wipe your mind, something to get you clean as far as that goes. So you have to do meditation, you have to do a walk, you have to do a gym, something to like power those neurotransmitters, flush your brain. You can freeze yourself. You can go in like a cold bath for like 2 minutes, 60 seconds or something. That was really good at like resetting your brain effectively. And then you go through, the ritual. You like eat a piece of toast. You journal about how your day is gone so you can put it all behind you. You journal about one effective thing that you want to accomplish in your training for the day, and then you go do it. I think that'll help a lot in your training effectiveness. Remember, it's not about efficiency. It's about being effective and deliberate in what you're training. So you got to think about like being a smart coach of yourself, because you don't have a coach to rely on. A coach would shut you down if you were having a bad training day. But most of us just keep going and learning bad habits and screwing up our skill development. Nisk asks, do you still coach non-esport athletes? If yes, how do you experience the differences that those athletes have to divide their attention between physical and mental training instead of just the mental part? Yes, I coach swimmers and football players. I coach youth because my interest is in youth development. Essentially the research shows that the sports can be useful in developing mental skills, but that it doesn't happen automatically. You have to have a good coach to do so. And in my opinion, in the ideal world, the coaches would be the ones who know the stuff that I know. Unfortunately, like you can't expect every coach to go out there and get like a master's degree in sports psychology. So we have two different people. We have a skills coach and a mental coach. But I try to put it into the same person. So when I coach in swimming, I coach the sports that I know. I was a competitive swimmer for 20 years. And I was also a professional swim coach for a number of years. So that's my sport. And I coach it now from the mental side as well as the physical side. And I incorporate the mental training into everything that I do. And when I work with esport teams, I do the same thing. I incorporate the mental training heavily with the coach. Like I try to get the coach super on board with what I'm doing because that's what really matters. You are your coach. So I'm talking to you as your coach right now. I'm not talking to you as the athlete. I'm talking to two people. I'm talking to you, your own coach, and I'm talking to you, the vulnerable person. Because those are the two people that are most important mindset-wise for me to talk to compared to the athlete. Like the athlete is going on autopilot. You're going to be in game and competing and training your skills and trying to win and doing all the things you should be doing. But I need the coach who prepares you before the game and after the match and kind of like coaches you in the match. I need him or her to get on board with me. And then I also need that vulnerable person who's like afraid to set a goal. Like I want to get into Challenger because they're like, oh, what if I fail? I'll be disappointed in myself. I'm afraid, so they set a lower goal because they don't want to feel that pain of not accomplishing the goal. So some of the most successful people in the world are incredibly vulnerable, especially in athletics. You don't see this in business so much because you have so many people who just luck out and get there. They didn't get there by hard work. But in athletics, there is no other route than effort. to become a champion. And so almost all of those people have strong humility and vulnerability, and they recognize that overcoming that and supporting and nurturing that vulnerable person inside is a really key element to progression. Rish says, you mentioned having a goal when you enter a game. Could you give an example of a goal everyone should have for starters? No, I cannot, because it depends on your role and your champion. But here's an example. Let's say you're going to a game with Zed, who is a League of Legends champion that is usually played as an assassin in the middle lane. So a goal should be SMART, meaning specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and it should have a time frame. So like something that you would go into the game with Zed is, I want to, after the 10-minute mark of the game, every single time I use my ultimate, I must return to the shadow of my ultimate. So he has an ability where you go out, but you leave a shadow from where you cast it, and you can return to that for a couple seconds. Okay, most people don't use it, but you see a lot of amazing plays happen when people do. So like a training goal you could have is raising your awareness of that shadow, where it is, what happens to it. So your goal when you go in is, every single time I cast my ultimate, after the 10-minute mark, I have to go back to my shadow. And this lasts until the 30-minute mark, and then I can do whatever I want after that. So that's like the kind of goal, the training goal that you go in with. So then you can go back afterwards, look at the match, you can measure it, you can see how close you got to every time, because maybe you cast 4 ults and you went back 3 times and you screwed up once. Okay, so now the next game you can improve on that. Or the next game you can say, okay, now I want to go back to my shadow. Every time I ult, I must go back to my shadow and I must not die. Those are the 2 things, right? So you can improve the goal, you can reevaluate it, make it a little harder. Then you can measure that, see how close you got. Make sure you have a time frame, between what points of the game. Because sometimes late game you don't want to throw the match because you have a stupid goal, and you're like looking at the replay, you're like, oh well, I didn't do that one because I didn't want to throw the match. Like that should be no reason to not accomplish your training. Okay, and Rish, I recommend you go take my goal setting class. I think that it'll be very valuable, and then I really want to get this Instagram started for you so you have really great example goals of every champion. I'm gonna work on that over the holiday break for you guys. Okay, next one. How would you go about creating the best environment to practice or train for League of Legends? I find it hard to stay concentrated, and part of that is because of distractions. I don't really know how to expand on this question, so here it is. Okay, so Towley asked this question, and my best answer is that you have to be able to perform with the distractions. So let me go back to this drill I talked about focus earlier. The drill was that you count up in your head silently to 1, 2, 3. Like as you're doing it, as you're doing like some sort of automated task like walking or whatever. So what you'll notice is that things just enter your mind, like thoughts. They just come to the surface. They bubble up. We're humans, so this happens. And then as you're focusing on the counting, so like you're walking along and like somebody's drilling over there, or like just walking by you and you're like veering to the side so you don't hit them, and it's just like coming up, veer to the side, 7, 8. And you'll notice that it just goes away if you don't focus on it. You focus back on the numbers, the thing comes up in your head, goes away. Okay, this is how people who are in the zone, like when they're performing, this is how their mental state is. They're focused on a task. Distractions come up, and then they go away. And the only thing that keeps them around is focus, is if it draws concentration from your thing that you should be focusing on to that thing, and then it sticks around in your head and it starts growing. It like takes root, seeds, and grows. You see this with emotions a lot, because like anger and rage are not really primal emotions. The primal emotion is much weaker and softer. It happens inside the psyche, not inside the psyche, inside the chemicals. It's like an initial thing, like usually it's fear or pain or something, then the mind latches onto it and starts a biofeedback loop between the body and your brain and thinking and cognating. And pretty soon you take this like very simple emotion and you turn it into this massively complex thing like rage or anger. So these are secondary emotions that you've built up. And the same is true of distractions. So normally nothing interferes with your focus on the task if that's really what you want to focus on. But then the distractions come and they take root in your mind and they start stealing your focus from you. So the best way to train this long term is to practice mindfulness. Now there's all sorts of drills you can find on the internet if you just search mindfulness. And I'm actually going to be launching, I think, a mindfulness class eventually because it's such a powerful skill for athletes to be able to focus on the task and not ignore the distractions. You don't ignore them. They still happen. Like you still think things. You can't stop that. It's impossible to control your thoughts like that. But you can control where you put your attention. You can control what it is that you focus on. So the things can come up into your mind and then you just can refocus yourself onto the task and they just drift away as things do. So your question was, how do I create the best environment for training? And I say a distraction-filled environment is actually a good thing for training because it trains you to focus on what's important. However, I would recommend that you do this pre-performance thing I was talking about to kind of get yourself in the mindset of training so that you can make sure that your environment is like within your sphere of influence and it doesn't matter like what kind of distractions are happening around you, that you can kind of be in the zone. Be a scientist about it is another thing I recommend. Like see what works for you and what doesn't and continue experimenting and then evaluate afterwards. Be reflective. You'll figure it out. Okay, so I don't have any more questions. I'm going to get this stopped. It'll be up and available on mindgames.gg/seminars as a video on demand. You can watch it again. Unfortunately, you can't click on the Q&A app because I totally screwed that up. I didn't load it. So normally you could see the question, you could click on it, it would take you there. Now we're gonna have to rely on just surfing through the video, which unfortunately is an hour and a half long. So like I said, everything that happened after 10 o'clock, I'll put it into an email and send it to all you guys. So please send me an email so I can make sure you're added to the list, and you'll get a copy of all the Q&A notes. And subscribe to my mailing list so you get notifications of the future webinars that are coming up. I'll tell people when they're happening. Thanks a lot for attending. By the way, I made a cheat sheet of the 5 skills I told you about today that you can like as an infographic that you can print out, put on your computer, or you can have on in your browser next to you or whatever. So if you go to mindgames.gg/cheat sheet, I don't think that's right. /cheat sheet. Is that right? Okay, no. I think it's mindgames.gg/mindgames. That's right. Okay. Yeah, mindgamesgg/mindgames/cheat sheet. You'll find the cheat sheet there. And also, if it's usually at the end of every post, there's like a little thing that says like, here, have this cheat sheet. Because I spent so much time making it, I wanted to get it out there. So you can go and download it. And then you can use it to remind yourself of the 5 tasks that we talked about today. They're very practical things. Okay. Send me an email if you have any other questions, and I'll see you next webinar. Thanks for coming.